Owen.
All right, our meeting is being live streamed. And as Sue mentioned, we are also recording this to the Zoom cloud. I'm going to start the recording now. If any of you would prefer not to have your image shown, please turn off your video and we will start the recording now. And we are live. Greetings to all who are coping with our climate crisis around the world. We know that the dire reality of our environmental crisis demands radical government, business, and citizen action. We know that we must reduce greenhouse gas emissions dramatically and intensify our efforts to ensure clean air, safe water, healthy food, and a livable planet for all. We stand ready to join forces with all who are committed to get the job done now. As Madonna Thunderhawk puts it, we are committed to nurturing our extended family. I'd like you to listen with me now to some inspiring voices that set the stage for us today. I'm going to share my screen. And our first speaker is United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
In just days, our planet's population will cross a new threshold. The 8 billionth member of our human family will be born. This milestone puts into perspective what this climate conference is all about. How will we answer when baby 8 billion is old enough to ask, what did you do for our world and for our planet when you had the chance? This UN climate conference is a reminder that the answer is in our hands. And the clock is ticking. We are in the fight of our lives and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
From my point of view, that was the global voice, a leader of the United Nations, telling us to get real, get radical. The next voice comes to us from an elder representative of indigenous peoples in the United States, the amazing Madonna Thunderhawk, in an interview. Let's take a look at the original Gangsta Granny.
My name is Madonna Thunderhawk, and I live on the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. Those are my people.
Madonna Thunderhawk is a Lakota matriarch, an organizing force behind every modern Native occupation, from Wounded Knee in 1973 to Standing Rock in 2016. She was radicalized in the late 1960s and became a force of nature within the American Indian movement. She co-founded the We Will Remember Survival School, Women of All Red Nations, and the Black Hills Alliance. A powerful voice for Native resistance and sovereignty, Madonna has spoken around the world as part of a global movement for Indigenous rights, serving as a delegate to the United Nations, and is the matriarch behind the Warrior Women Project, a collective for the development of scholarship, media, and activism. She is the original Gangsta Granny. My name is Beth Castle, and I'm a community scholar and filmmaker, Just recently, she and I caught up on Lakota land to discuss the importance of voting and advice for a younger generation.
If there was one thing you'd really like to see the young people who are on the rise right now, what might that be?
The value of allies, because no group of people, whether it's age group or whether it's ethnic group, cannot stand alone. So allies are so very important. When you start building those on a local level, it's got to start with community.
When you're asking people to think of community, what are you asking them to think of?
Extended family, because I'm finding out words, English words are very limited, you know, but outside of my people, extended family is very important, and that's the glue that holds us together. And because of extended families can be anywhere, all over the country. I mean, I have extended family all over this land, you know. It's another word for community. Maybe the rest of America has to relearn that.
I definitely agree. I believe that our extended family is our global family of all living beings. And she has advice to us and also to our young people to seek allies and to be active. Let's listen to these young people, hear what they have to say about environmental justice.
Like youth who have come before us in the civil rights movement and other social justice movements, it is often the young among us that shine a light on systems of injustice.
For a lot of young people right now, life is really scary. Hurricane Matthew hit head on, and it's just so terrifying. If this drought gets any worse, our way of life will dissolve.
Just as my family's farm is threatened by climate change, so too are the very stability and vitality of our country.
The government is taking actions that are directly contributing to the destruction of our planet.
We have evidence going back to the 50s that government and the fossil fuel industry knew that if they continued to burn fossil fuels, that it would cause catastrophic impacts.
That's when they started editing climate reports.
It's all because of choices that we had no participation in. And I'm scared for my future.
It's the greatest dereliction of civic responsibility in the history of the Republic.
21 young people ages 11 to 22 are suing the federal government over policies they say are destroying their world.
We are not willing to wait around for someone else's timeline to dictate the trajectory of our lives.
I look forward to standing in court with all my fellow plaintiffs. I love you all.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth? I do.
Whether we win the lawsuit or not, we are already making ripples in the world to show real change can come from young people standing up for what they believe in.
All the cases working their way through the federal court system, none is more interesting or potentially more life-changing than Juliana versus the United States.
Those young people give me goosebumps. What do they want? What do we want? Justice, environmental justice, and we want it now. We are an extended family here. I'm very excited to be a member of it. And with those inspiring voices, I would like to turn it over to our monthly Mondays co-chair, Daniel Stein, to introduce our first speaker. Daniel, I ask you to go ahead and unmute and take it away.
Sorry about that. I'm going to begin again. I thank you, Bruce. We have three special guests today who are making change for environmental justice. After each speaker, we will have time for a brief Q&A that'll be led by Bruce, again, after each speaker. Our first speaker is DAVANTE Lewis, a lifelong Louisiana resident who has dedicated his life to bringing real solutions to Louisiana's working families. Lewis was elected as Louisiana District 3 Public Service Commissioner last December, drawing many to his campaign with a focus on environmental justice and meeting Louisiana's climate goals by holding utility companies accountable. He managed to push the typically under the radar post into the spotlight and ultimately cruised to a 20-point victory over the 18-year incumbent Lambert Bossire III. He was assisted by a wide-ranging movement of activists and grassroots organizations advocating for affordable housing, renewable energy, rights for current and formerly incarcerated people, a Green New Deal in one of the largest oil and gas states. His victory has created a feasible climate majority on Louisiana's Public Service Commission. Not quite a decisive majority, but a realistic path for moving the state's energy grid to renewables, supported by 3 out of 5 commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Lewis. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. It's such an honor to be with all of you today. I will give you a brief caveat. In Louisiana, we are in the middle of our legislative session, and so I'm in between committee hearings, but I wanted to make sure I still joined you, so I apologize if it gets a little loud. I found that the most quietest spot I could, but we are doing it, and so I just want to tell you briefly about what we're doing here in Louisiana. As we said, Louisiana is the oil and gas capital of the nation. My district, District 3, stretches from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, all the way through New Orleans. I have more petrochemical and industrial plants in my district than any other place in the world. Black Louisianians in my district are 7 to 21 times more likely to be exposed to air pollution than any other place in the world. And my district has a very historic name that many people may know about, which is Cancer Alley, where we know more people are subjected to cancer in this area than any other place in the world. So the fight for climate justice, the fight for environmental justice, the fight for racial justice, I believe starts right here in District 3 of the Louisiana Public Service Commission. But my goal is not just to talk about the things that are going wrong, but what we do to make it better. I have said every day that while I may represent America's Cancer Alley, the work that I'm going to do is going to turn Louisiana into America's climate answer alley, because we can answer the challenges that America and the world faces in our environmental justice if we do it here in Louisiana. Right now, our power grid that funds and maintains all of our utilities is only 2% renewable energy. However, we know Louisiana is a place where we can see significant investments into solar, the new technology that is developing on offshore wind using the Gulf of Mexico as its coast, but also in providing safe, reliable services to people. I have said something that many people think is very radical for a utilities regulator, which is to say that I believe utilities is a human right. Everyone should have access to fresh air, clean water, a cool house in the summer, and a warm house in the winter. But I believe that we have to do that in a way that is better for all of us, that gives us an opportunity to survive. I mean, I want to be very blunt about what's happening here in Louisiana. Louisiana has seen significant challenges that will only exacerbate thanks to the climate change. So we are, as many of you know, very natural disaster prone. We are on one of the highest risk index of any other organization in any other state in the nation. Just 2 years ago, 1/3 of my entire state was devastated by a hurricane. And what we're seeing is we know because of climate change that our coast has started to erode. Well, when the coast erodes, that means there is less land to slow down a storm. But because of global warming, we know the Gulf of Mexico is warmer. And what makes storms stronger? Warm water. So we are really in a conundrum here where we're having this situation where we're losing our coastline, the Gulf is getting warmer, That means storms are getting stronger and they're lasting longer and hitting our major population centers. But why is that so important to think about how climate change and environmental justice is also economic injustice? Is because I live in the second poorest state in the nation. 25% of my state is what we would classify poverty under the federal poverty law. When you think about the exacerbation of poverty in my district, I want to give you a very strong statistic. Louisiana is nicknamed the sportsman paradise, right? We love our football, we love our baseball, we love our hunting and our fishing. Brian Kelly happens to be the coach of Louisiana State University, which is our premier SEC football team. How prevalent is poverty in my district? The communities that surround the stadium makes $100 more a year than what Brian Kelly makes in a single day. I want to reemphasize that point. The football coach at LSU daily salary is $100 less than my constituents' yearly salary. So when we talk about environmental justice and we know that winter storms are stronger, hurricanes are stronger, this isn't just about a clean environment. This is about the safety and security of my people because they can't evacuate. They can't pick up and move. They can't afford to go to Texas or Alabama or Arkansas and be in a hotel room for 14 days. They have to stay in their homes that are unstable, unreliable, with a power structure that is so dependent on natural gas. And so this is why the fight for environmental justice, I believe, starts here in Louisiana, because it is about the land that we've seen, how permitting has poisoned Black and brown people because we've built all the petrochemical plants in historically Black neighborhoods, and we're trying to build a carbon sequestration plant on the grave of former slaves, disregarding our history and disregarding our people to advance a technology that is unproven, unsafe, and will wreak havoc on the same people that are buried on that sacred ground. And so the work I'm doing in Louisiana is the work that I think can inspire the nation, because if we can do it in Louisiana, if we can cap emissions here, if we can rein in on oil and gas, if we can promote 100% clean, renewable energy, if we can tackle the challenges that climate change brings to our economy and do it here in the Deep South, then anyone can do it anywhere. So I thank you so much for allowing me to speak, and I welcome any questions that you have about the work that we're doing here to turn America's Cancer Alley into America's Climate Answer Alley.
Wow. I'm feeling pretty good to have you represent us, Commissioner Lewis, in Louisiana, District 3, the whole state of Louisiana. And it seems as though your voice is one that needs to be heard all around the United States and one we want to hear globally. Going to ask anyone who wants to pose a question to use our tried and true star hand up method in the chat box. While that is developing, I'd like to ask a first question. Last week, there was a very, very good The Nation article on your work, and it features how much you are there where you are today. But when you're not there, you're out in your district talking to your constituents. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and your plans to ramp it up?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I think is the most challenging is when you think about utility regulation, this is life or death for people. And how many of us do not know who our utility regulator is? Now, I'll give a caveat for those who may not know. Louisiana is only one of 10 states that actually elects their utility regulator. The vast majority of other states in the United States are either appointed by the legislature or they're appointed by the governor. So I have a privilege that the constituents, the people of Louisiana, get to say in who their regulator is. And I believe that I should use my commission's name backward. I should be a commissioner that serves the public. And for me, you cannot serve the public if you're not engaged or with the public. So he mentioned the Nation article. So some of the things that I've done is we have my DMs on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram open for constituents to message us. We have our email and our phones on the commission website, so you can call our office or you can email me personally about one of those things. I also go to community events. If there is a town hall that a state senator or a state representative is hosting, I will show up even if not an invited guest, just to be part of it. We are doing virtual office hours. So we have a Zoom link that we push out every once in a while and say, hey, if you have a question about your utility bill, you're having challenges with your utility bill, hop on Zoom and we'll be there. But we know accessibility is not just the simplistic of technology. We know people don't have access to broadband. We know people don't have access to reliable transportation. So what also we're doing is we're doing office hours in the district. I have 10 parishes in Louisiana. We call our counties parishes, notes to the French. And so we go through all 10 parishes every quarter. And I'm at either the community courthouse or at a community center of the local high school, and my staff were there. Bring your utility bill. If you are struggling, I'll jump on the phone with you and I'll talk that operator and let them know who I am to try to solve that issue. Because I think one of the things we have to do is we have to be open and transparent as elected officials. And I want my community to know that you can call me anytime. I have a cell phone that I give out to all constituents. I got constituents texting and calling all hours of the night. Hey, my power went out. Can you do something? But for me, I cannot be a commissioner and serve my public if I'm not engaged with my public. And so those are some of the things that we're doing. We're going to be having a newsletter that comes out every month. I make all of my meetings publicly available, so you can go on my website, see who I've met with this month. I also keep a vote log. So after every meeting, I publish my vote log that explains why I voted a certain way. And then before the meetings and after the meetings, I go on Facebook Live or Instagram Live and I talk about what's on the agenda or what happened at the meeting. So I try to keep my constituents as engaged as possible for all forms of media, because we know from the 19-year-old who cares about the climate to my 78-year-old who just lives on a fixed income and wants a low bill, I got to be accessible to all of them.
Wow, what an amazing example. We progressives say change must come from the bottom up. And it seems like this commissioner for the people is really showing the way. I really hope that in the neighboring state of Texas, where I think it's also possible that officials can be elected to do the work that you do, that they catch on and are also able to win as you did in that amazing election. We have two more questions right now before we have to go on to our next speaker, and we'll try to do that maybe in the next 5 minutes or so. We'll start with Max Dunitz, who is joining us from France. Max?
Hi. So one of the things that has struck me most about Louisiana is that there's a lot of citizen science. Essentially, there's citizens trying to hold their government accountable that's often neglected them by taking their own measurements of pollution or of trying to assess a lack of federal response after Katrina and so forth. I'm wondering if any of this sort of work it all affects the what you do on Utility Commission, and if other sort of newer data sources like satellite data and so forth is something that you're using to try to call attention to pollution and hold and find hotspots and hold polluters accountable. Thanks.
Absolutely. So I represent some of the most vulnerable communities, as you talked about, those groups like Louisiana Bucket Brigade, completely in my district. Rise St. James was also in my district. And so we are using every technology. I meet with people all the time about looking at satellite images, talking about the prevalence of emissions. I mean, I think we talked about air pollution for a second, and I'm gonna keep my answers brief so we can get as many questions as possible. But my office welcomes all, and we use all, and we empower our people. One of the things I think is the most important is I tell people the best experts are not sometimes the scientists, are not anybody else, but it is the people who live in those communities who know exactly what's going on. They may not be able to tell you the level of emissions in their area, but they know they are suffering from emissions. So what I like to do is connect the new technology and scientists with the people to enhance their message. Because like I said, they are experts on their experience. They are experiencing climate injustice. They know what it is to wake up and smell toxins in the air when they walk their dog or they walk to the mailbox. And so what I want to do is empower them with the data that backs up their lived experience. And so we bring it all together and use everybody as one.
Thank you very much again. We now have 2 more questions and are closing the queue. The interest is great. And I hope one, if not both, ask a little bit too. What can we do to help? Is there any action you have for us to take? Next question comes from Emma McDermott in Northern Germany.
Hi. First of all, I was so excited to hear what you said about believing that utilities should be a public right, a public service, and not part of a profit-run thing. And this is something I've been reading about and hearing about for years, but I haven't heard it from a public official. You're the first one that I've heard say that. And that is so exciting. And I just wanted to know, how realistic is that happening in a state like Louisiana? And what are the obstacles? And also, to jump on what Bruce said, how can we amplify your voice and what your team is doing?
Absolutely. So I'm going to answer the former and then come to the latter for what Bruce talked about. I think one of the challenges that we face with this is that right now we know most states, Louisiana, other states have an incumbent utility that pretty much has massive jurisdiction. States that have gone to retail market access, the free market, where you can shop around like you shop a cell phone plan, also has some significant challenges. We've seen in Maryland, their retail access, we've seen these companies prey on Black and brown individuals, prey on the low income individuals and seniors with junk plans, kind of how cable companies work, where it's like, oh, you have a discount for the first 7 months, and then after that 7 months is over, you have a long time. And so it's really a hard thing. I mean, I personally, if I could remake our system, would have more municipally owned utility companies where the community owns that utility. But sadly, for the state of like Louisiana, most of my government, my local governments are very poor, which means if I move to a municipal system, it's going to actually raise people's rates. So one of the things that I've worked on, and I'm working on the hardest to make it a human right, is around consumer protection policies. Adding a consumer advocate to our commission staff, putting a moratorium on utility disconnections for people with certain income thresholds, senior citizens, and members who are of the disabled community, making it harder to assess late fees, making disconnect fees lower, putting a stronger requirement on temperature checks for when you can disconnect. Right now, we have a policy that is somewhat good that says, hey, if it's over 102 degrees, you can't disconnect somebody, and if it's lower than 5 degrees, you can't disconnect them. But it's for that day. So if today it's 102 and tomorrow it goes down to 101, I can disconnect you tomorrow. I don't think we should be able to do that. So it's really going to be about how can I rein in the regulation to ensure that consumers are protected and that we see this as a right, but also in the way that we invest. What utility companies have gotten really good at is deciding they need to build a new power plant, saving all that money for their shareholders, and then tacking it onto the ratepayers. And so what I'm doing is saying, no, we're not building new power plants unless it's cost effective and it reduces people's bills, not continue to add to their bills. And so it's a holistic approach while we try to find ways to then empower utility companies and utilities to be back to a human right as they should be. But if I can't make local governments own them, what I can do is put on the strictest requirements on these regulated entities that I most possibly can.
Right on. Commissioner for the People, Lewis, we have a final question from Court JP. Take it away.
It's more of a comment. I'm sorry, I'm actually on the way home en route. I just wanted to take the time to thank you on the behalf of the Jean-Pierres from Point Coupee Parish and New Roads. I'm calling you from South Africa, and I really appreciate what you're doing, and I'll be home next year and definitely want to volunteer with you. So if there's a way that I can contact you, I don't know if you can put your info up, but definitely would like to spend some time with you, and you have an economist on your side.
Well, thank you so much. And Point Coupee is a great place. While I don't represent Point Coupee Parish, I do have some jurisdiction at Point Coupee Electric, the co-op that serves the majority of the parish, but serves a part of my district's utilities, which is Iberville Parish, or adjoining parish. And so I'll end with the question
Close
that will say,
enough.
how can you help? Yeah, close enough in the neighborhood. We are still building out our team. I mean, I'm ecstatic, but I guess I should give y'all a heads up. I've only been in office 115 days. So we're still updating the website, getting our newsletter set up. But I'm going to drop my information in the chat. But what I think we can help is elevating the issues that we're talking about here in Louisiana and putting pressure on my fellow commissioners to do what is right and to do what is best for the people. If you follow me on social media, it's DAVANTE Lewis on Instagram, DAVANTE Lewis on Twitter, DAVANTE Lewis on Facebook. I'll put all that information in the chat once I stop talking. Stay connected with us. You'll see all of the information we're pushing out. And then as my staff and us get more up to speed and get our accessibility up and running, then definitely there'll be action alerts. There'll be newsletters. There'll be call to action. There'll be rallies. We're going to be hosting climate events here in Louisiana. I'm not going to sleep these next 6 years until the people of the 3rd District, but the people of Louisiana starts to see some significant action on climate. Because as I tell people all the time, environmental justice is racial justice, which is also economic justice. So when we do justice, every single person in our state, whether you're Black, brown, indigenous, Hispanic, Asian, you will all benefit. And so this fight is a collective fight. We're going to do it together. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you to turn Louisiana into America's climate answer alley and no longer be America's cancer alley. Thank you so much for having me here. I'll drop all my information in the chat. Please stay connected.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Lewis. As you just heard, we have people from Louisiana on the call. There also are people from Texas here. We hope that your energy can start to spread out and go to Texas and other states as well. And we're going to now move on to our next speaker and imagine what you'll be doing the rest of the day and moving forward with your great work. Thank you very much. And I'm going to turn it back over to Daniel Stein for introducing our next speaker.
All right, thank you very much, Bruce, and thank you very much, Commissioner Lewis. We are going to turn now to CARLA Ray Marshall, who is a board member for the Black Hills Clean Water Alliance, working to stop and prevent radioactive and destructive mining in the Black Hills region and protect its valuable resources, especially its water, for future generations. The Alliance is a diverse collection of citizens concerned about the health, environmental, and economic impacts that mining projects would have on our communities, people, economy, and natural resources. CARLA Ray is also a board member for the Rapid Creek Watershed Action and founder of Watecha Challenge. Watecha meaning to bring feast food home. Carry your own. CARLA Ray is a concerned South Dakota citizen and a Cheyenne River Sioux tribal citizen. We are very excited to learn more about her work and what we can do to support it. So please, CARLA Ray, take it away, and please do correct me on any mispronunciations I might have erred in making. Thank you very much, CARLA Ray. Please take it away.
Yes, hi. Good morning or good afternoon. I guess it's morning here. Thank you, Daniel. You said Watecha just right. That's the correct way to say it. My name is CARLA Ray Marshall, as introduced. I live here in the Hesapa, which is the Black Hills in South Dakota, on the western side of South Dakota. We are working to stop radioactive and destructive mining here in the Black Hills, and we are totally under attack by mining companies. exploration companies trying to come in. First, I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who is calling in from Germany. I was born in Germany. I was born in Bitburg. My dad was in the Air Force, so yeah, feel a bit connected to you guys. I haven't been back there since I was a baby though, so I'd like to start out by acknowledging the Hesapa and by reading a statement that I put out when I send in like our public comments and stuff. So since time immemorial, Hesapa, Black Hills, is known to us as Wamake, Oganake, Ichante, the heart of everything that is. This ancient oasis on the prairie provides us with natural medicines, food, and healing waters. It is home to thousands of species of wildlife and plant nations. Hesapa holds our creation story, our coming into being as human beings. They hold stories of our ancient traditional teachings and historical events. They hold eons of memory in our DNA, and water is our main entity. Miniki we chose on the water gives us life, water is alive, water is sacred. So that's one of the my statements. So the Hesapa here has been gold mined starting with the 1872. This land is unceded treaty territory under the 1851 and 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty with the Lakota, or the Ocheti-Shakoi. The Ocheti-Shakoi is the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota nations. But right now we are totally under attack. Starting with about 2 years ago, we have been just inundated with mining claims. So the mining claims are under the Bureau of Land Management. And when that happens, then these companies will come in and they start buying up swaths of mining claims. Mining claim is approximately 20 some acres. So these companies are coming in, buying up swaths of mining claims. Right now, we know that there's 10 of the 10 largest gold companies in 2021, which was Barrick, Newmont, and Agnico Eagle. Those all have links. And so these are heavy hitter mining companies that are coming in. So we also have, over the past year, there has been over probably 7 interests of lithium exploration mining companies wanting to come in and mine lithium. So, and that has to do a lot with the push for renewable energies. So we are looking at the Hesapa becoming a sacrifice zone if we can't get this stopped. Because once these lithium mining companies come in, I mean, they're large pits. Right now, South Dakota has one large scale gold mine in the northern Black Hills area, and that is called Wharf Resources, and owned by Core pronunciation of that is a Canadian-based company. So Wharf has been mining for the past since 1983, but these mining companies, so we have that one large one, and the circumference around that mine is 7.5 miles, I think, around that mine. And it's a huge hole right now. I mean, it's very sad to see. So right now there are over 228,000 acres in the Black Hills that are under either active or filed mining claims. So when we say active mining claim, it means that that claim is now activated and that they are looking at coming in and doing exploration. A lot of these gold mining companies are coming in under exploration. So they're telling people, we're not mining, we're just exploring. But when they come in to explore, then that opens that door up to larger mining companies coming in, such as Core and Agnico Eagle and Barrick. So they do have connections here too. So they're sending in their scouts more or less to come in and explore for gold. And now lithium. So it's 18% of the Black Hills are under active mining claims, which is approximately 1 in 5 acres. So with that, we have been trying to, we've just been inundated with these claims and trying to keep as much information going and keeping the people informed. The lithium mining, lithium exploration, I guess that's coming in. We are very much concerned about that because lithium is nothing to be messed with, and how are they going to do the mining if they do? So we have to work long and hard to try to get that stopped. Right now, it's not regulated under any federal laws, so it goes directly to the state, and the state doesn't have any concrete or any regulations that would prevent some of this mining of lithium. They based it on almost like a gravel pit. So that's a major concern of ours. In the northern part on the Wyoming side, which is called the Bear Lodge, Matotipila, we call it, or if you look at what the Washichu or the white people call it Devil's Tower, we call it Matotipila, and that's a sacred site. But in that area, they call the Bear Lodge on the Wyoming side of the Black Hills is, they are looking at rare earth elements to come in and mine that. The U.S. Department of Energy gave a grant to Rare Elements Resources to do a plant there, demonstration plant, I guess it would be called, in Upton, Wyoming. So that's going on, but for the most part, the Hetsapa, we have several watersheds. So one of the watersheds that is our main watershed here in the central Black Hills is called the Rapid Creek watershed. And the Rapid Creek watershed action started out of the Black Hills Clean Water Alliance in order to protect that watershed. The watershed feeds, is part of Rapid Creek, and it feeds Pactola Reservoir, which Pactola Reservoir is one of our main drinking water reservoirs here in the Black Hills. And it feeds Rapid City and Ellsworth Air Force Base. The Ellsworth Air Force Base is now expanding to, I guess, B-1 bombers or something, but F3 Gold came in and wanted to explore for gold in the Jenny Gulch area, which is just upstream from Pactola. And so when that happened, we all, geared up. We sent in our comments. The Forest Service came back with, in the scoping, the Forest Service came back with finding of no significant impact, or what they call a FONSI. And it's like, oh, how could you find no significant impact? We had over 1,000 people doing, sending in their comments about, what the impact was going to be, and they still came back with it. So then we objected to that, and several of us were able to be invited. We got invited to the objectors meeting back on October 12th, 2022. And from that, we met with the Forest Service, some of the more higher up officials. During a Zoom call, we sat there all day talking about, what the impacts were going to be on several different categories, like the NEPA violations, which the National Historical Preservation Act, they violated because they did not do adequate tribal consultation for this. There was just several things under the Environmental Protection Act, the Clean Water Act, all this stuff. So we met with them and then we waited and waited and waited, and it was past the 90 days. They were supposed to get back to us in 90 days of what the outcome was going to be. On March 17th, we got word from the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, who together they submitted a proposal to protect Pactola and some of the Upper Creek watershed. It's not the total amount of the watershed, it's just like 10% of it, but it's 20,572 acres of Pactola area. So that's already protected, somewhere around that area. And then it would be, 20,000 plus acres. So we are like, yes, this solidifies that we have said that, this is going to impact, even if it is just exploration, it's going to impact our main drinking water source. So the Forest Service and the BLM have submitted this proposal, and now it's in the scoping. And so we are working hard to try to get as many people as possible to submit comments saying, yes, let's say yes to this proposal. However, this is not enough, because upstream from Pactola, if you don't protect the whole watershed, there's still going to be some contamination upstream. And water does not have boundaries.
Carla May, I want to jump in there and say, there are two things you just mentioned that seem so crucial to me. One is it's not enough. And the other is that, as you said during your entire presentation, water is the crucial source for all of us. And what's becoming clear to me is how your lands are still being attacked on all sides all the time. And you just mentioned that it's necessary to write comments, to get involved in the democratic process, no matter how frustrating it is. That's where I'd like to jump in with a question. It seems as though this current administration is doing a little bit, maybe quite a bit better than the last administration. But as you said, it's not good enough. I'm wondering, how can we work more effectively with the Department of the Interior and Secretary Haaland, with the current administration, so that we can fend off these attacks and be more compelling in our message that enough is enough, and we have to guarantee environmental justice.
Yeah. Well, and we are looking at also protecting the entire Black Hills. I mean, if people say, well, we've got, the spearfish area, we've got there's several different watersheds. And so I'm hoping that people are going to, around the Black Hills, that we start activating, especially with now that we have the Rapid Creek Watershed Action, and, we're going full blast on that too, is that they start looking at their own little watersheds and say, we have to protect our watersheds. Right now, there's like 9 watersheds in the Black Hills. Also, the aquifers. I mean, the state of South Dakota, sometimes they think, these aquifers and the surface water and the subwaters or whatever, don't mix, but they do, especially here in the Black Hills. We're like somebody had, one of our professors with the South Dakota School of Mines had mentioned that the Black Hills is like a sponge. Underneath the geology of it, underneath it's all these caves and caverns and stuff that we don't know where this water really goes. I mean, it circulates all over the place. Even the United States Geological Survey says the Madison and the Minnelusa are the 2 most important aquifers in the Black Hills area because of the utilization of water supplies and important influences on surface water resources resulting from large springs and stream flow loss zones. So, people have to start waking up and saying, hey, we can't allow mining companies that are only 1%, we have to start really looking at how much economic value the Black Hills are with just recreation. You get recreation. I mean, you know, they're not coming in and totally destroying streams and stuff. They're recreating.
As you mentioned at the beginning, it is such a rich area for biodiversity, and that biodiversity is needed much more than another ounce of gold, it seems to me. You're inspiring us. I want to say that Sue Alksness is ready to ask a question, and I'd like to turn it over to Sue.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm attending from Canada, where I know we have a lot of mining companies that are doing damage all around the world. We also have a tradition here of land acknowledgements, which I might be interested if you have thoughts on the value and where land acknowledgements should, what the best practice now is for that. We're having that debate here in Canada. But my main question for you is around the ability for others outside of the Black Hills area to get involved and to provide support. I wonder if you might share a little bit about how what happens in the Black Hills, what damage is done there affects all of us. That it's not just, you know, how can we think maybe in a different way about how things are all interconnected. We know that that's true, but I don't think that we really allow ourselves to fully engage with that in Western. Many of us raised in a more of a Western way. We kind of we don't really fully live that. And then also, are there concrete ways in which we can help? So for instance, the surveys and feedback forms, like is that something that's limited to residents, that's the group that they're looking for feedback from, or can people living elsewhere say that we value the Black Hills and we want to see better respect for the land and the people and all life there? Thank you.
Yeah, well, so when we do comments, even if it's to the city or the county or whatever, I always tell people, you know, that their comment counts, because they do come here to recreate. They do come here to the Black Hills. You know, a lot of people are, well, I don't live there. Well, it doesn't matter. You still come here, you shop here, you come here to enjoy the Black Hills. You know, this is the state of the shrine of democracy, or we call it the shrine of what is it? The shrine of something else, but you know, Mount Rushmore state, which they totally desecrated our sacred 7 grandfathers, you know. But so it doesn't matter where people live. I mean, I think you know, that's a lot of people do think that, well, I don't live there, so it's not my concern, or it's not in my backyard. You know, that's another thing we're seeing too, is a lot of people are starting to take a look and waking up, because some of these companies are coming in and they're literally in their backyard almost, you know. So there's a lot of private landowners around here, and some of these mining companies are going to these private landowners and saying, you know, let's can we mine in your backyard, I guess. But so people are waking up now, and I think so, like with this mineral claims withdrawal that the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management is saying, let's do 20,000 plus acres. We're saying yes to that, but we want to expand that, you know. So I would say anybody can get involved, and we've got, especially with this, you know, this mining claim withdrawal proposal, is that we're going to have a meeting on Wednesday, and then the comments are due June 30th. So this is the scoping process of that. So yes, people can get involved, and I always tell, you know, if I'm handing out postcards or something about, you know, can you please comment on this? Some people are like, well, we're not from here, we're from overseas or whatever. I'm like, it doesn't matter, you're still here today. You know,
So if you'd like people on this call today to participate in that, and you want to provide a link in the chat to for us to submit our comments, I think, you know, there may be folks with connections, stronger connections to the Black Hills, but there may also be others who just want to, as a citizen of our world together, would like to participate in that.
Yes, absolutely. I will send you the comment link right now.
Thank you.
Super.
Thank you very much. I want to pick up on that concept of connections and say I was born and raised in the neighboring state of Minnesota, the headwaters of the Mississippi. And I have this image of the waters in the upper Midwest being the waters that DAVANTE Lewis was also talking about down there at the mouth of the Mississippi River. If we think about what happens to that water, starting on the border with Canada, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, that is a really strong connection and something that we can work on together. And I would like to thank CARLA Ray Marshall so much for speaking with us and encouraging us to realize that it's something that we're in together. And we are members of an extended family, and we have a lot of work to do to nurture that family. Thank you very much, CARLA Ray Marshall.
I just got one more small short comment. Is the waters from here in the Black Hills goes west or goes east to the Missouri River. And so then the Missouri River what flows into the Mississippi and then on out to the, so, you know, this is all interconnected. So thank you so much for allowing me to speak. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We thank you so very much. And we're going to take that tip from you with the link in the chat box and keep watching. And I'm going to turn it back over to Daniel Stein now for our third speaker today.
Sure, thank you very much, Bruce. So our third speaker today is Anthony Carifa ROGERS-WRIGHT. He serves as Director of Environmental Justice for New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. He guides and coordinates the organization's environmental justice strategy, litigation, organizing, and advocacy initiatives. Prior to joining New York Lawyers for the Public Interest, Anthony was the policy coordinator and Green New Deal policy lead with the Climate Justice Alliance, where he assisted with developing and promulgating local, state, and federal organizing and policy strategy for 74 grassroots frontline-led organizations across the country. A veteran of social justice campaigns, Anthony helped lead the effort to make the former Colorado Health Insurance Cooperative the first health insurance provider in the state's history to remove transgender exclusions from all of their policies in 2012. He acted as a policy advisor for numerous candidates for elected office, including Senator Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign in 2020 and Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns in 2020 and 2016. Anthony was selected as one of GRIS.org's 50 environmentalists you'll be talking about in 2016, and recognized as one of New York City's 100 most influential environmental leaders in 2022 by City and State magazine. Clearly, we and many others are still talking about it. Anthony serves as the board of directors of Friends of the Earth, Backbone Campaign, and Climate Critical Earth, and Center for Sustainable Economy. He is a proud participating member of the Black Alliance for Peace and the Movement for Black Lives, Black Hive. Anthony, take it away.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around. You know, just such an honor, first of all, to be in the presence of DAVANTE. Don't know if he's still on, but I'll be heading down to New Orleans on Saturday, so I hope to see you there for Jazz Fest. And just how epochal DAVANTE's candidacy was to begin with, and his election, as he stated. I mean, to be an anti-fossil fuel campaigner and public service commissioner in a state like Louisiana is just really, really big. And then, of course, our dear sister CARLA Ray, the amazing work of grounding us and reminding us of why we cannot let the sacred suffer from elite capture. And that's kind of what I'd like to talk about now, is the elite capture of environmental justice. You know, Bruce I'll have to push back a bit on the notion that Biden is doing a bit better than his predecessor. Unfortunately, he's actually doing a bit worse. What we do know is that Joe Biden has approved more leasing for oil and gas on public lands at this point in his presidency than Donald Trump did. And so I think the overarching theme of my discussion with you all today are Biden's climate contradictions and then some of his more recent perfunctory policies. So it's really, it hurts to say that Joe Biden, the president, has turned his cabinet and the federal agencies that they have jurisdiction over into a smorgasbord, unfortunately, for the fossil fuel industry. And it's not an all of the above strategy. It's placing fossil fuels above renewable energy and placing fossil fuel profits over indigenous sovereignty and environmental justice writ large. And I want to talk about some specifics of that. So, when the Inflation Reduction Act passed the Senate, this is going back last year, I was actually in Colombia. I literally just got back from Colombia an hour and a half ago, where I worked down there with the political party of the first Black woman vice president in the nation's history, the great Francia Marquez, who of course needs no introduction. And I remember her and her people, when the IRA was passed, seeing how just kind of, I was not very rhapsodic, and they asked a very salient question, which was, why don't the demographics of the people celebrating passage of the Inflation Reduction Act match the demographics of the people suffering most from the climate crisis? And this is a very salient question, and we're starting to see that manifest now. This Inflation Reduction Act, of course, is it has the sobriquet of being a climate bill. And I've asked questions like, if a Republican signed a piece of legislation that opened up 600 million acres of the Gulf of Mexico to oil and gas drilling, as well as to Carla Ray's point, all kinds of swaths of land, sovereign indigenous land to mineral mining without the free, prior, informed consent of indigenous people, invested in nuclear and invested in unproven and quite frankly ineffective technologies like so-called carbon capture, sequestration, and hydrogen combustion, would we be celebrating it as a climate bill? And I don't think as progressive as we would be. I don't. And so what we're seeing now are some of the manifestations of why a great article written by the incredible journalist Kate Arnoff in the New Republic, which was entitled, "Why is the Fossil Fuel Industry Celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act?" And there's reasons for that, because they're getting a lot of money out of it. Now, Biden's climate contradictions also, after signing this Inflation Reduction Act, Willow, a climate bomb, by the way, was passed in Alaska, which is going to be the equivalent of putting like 4 million or 2.4 million cars, internal combustion engine cars, to be clear, not zero emission vehicle cars on the road. Just 2 weeks after that, announced the approval of a massive liquefied natural gas facility in Alaska with associated pipelines, right? And then a day before, he invited environmental justice leaders to the White House to sign what I believe to be a very perfunctory executive order. The day before he did that, we learned that FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, approved permits for 2 liquefied natural gas permits in Texas in the Gulf of Mexico. So, and then today, we just found out that Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm just signed a letter endorsing the Mountain Valley Pipeline through Appalachia. So the question then becomes, how is this a climate precedent? And what is the Inflation Reduction Act really going to do if all the swaths of that money are going to be used by people like Carla Ray and DAVANTE and myself to basically shield and protect themselves from the harmful provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act, including the 600 million acres of oil and gas leasing, as well as the massive investments in nuclear, hydrogen combustion, and carbon capture sequestration, as DAVANTE spoke about as well. What's the point of all of that money if we're not going to be using it to grow, but using it to defend? That's what I refer to as net zero justice. We're going to be using money to protect ourselves rather than advance environmental justice and renewable energy production that we desperately need in a way that respects indigenous sovereignty. So all this to say as well that the Inflation Reduction Act, and prior to that, the so-called bipartisan infrastructure law, has ended this idea of state law in a vacuum, of local law in a vacuum, of federal law in a vacuum. DAVANTE's got to pay attention to what's happening with the Inflation Reduction Act in terms of how that money is redistributed and where it's going to. Sister CARLA Ray, as a member of a tribe, tribal nations, they're sovereign nations, by the way, they have to pay attention to what's happening at the federal level, what's happening at the state level, what's happening at the local level, and how that all impacts them. And so, and we're already starting to see some of that happen in states where I work, New York, of course, in 2019, the former governor, I won't say his name, did sign into law what some heralded as the most aggressive piece of climate policy in the nation, if not the world, the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act of 2019, which mandates an 85% reduction in emissions from 1990 levels by 2050. 70% of all electricity in New York State has to be produced by renewable energy by 2040. And of course, we did center climate and environmental justice by establishing disadvantaged communities, which are essentially environmental justice communities, and stipulated that 40% of all climate investments must go to these disadvantaged communities. If that sounds familiar, that's because that is what Joe Biden modeled his Justice 40 plan off of New York. However, since the Inflation Reduction Act has occurred, about 3 weeks ago now, Governor Hochul, the current governor of New York, along with some members of the New York State Senate, we do have a trifecta in New York, by the way, did try to change the way that we account for methane emissions. We are one of 2 states that uses a 20-year accounting model rather than a 100-year accounting model. And that just makes perfect sense. Why? Because we know that in the short term, methane, when released into the atmosphere, is 80 times more heat trapping for the first 20 years that it's in the atmosphere. After 100 years, it actually dissipates. So if we would have switched to a 100-year model, we actually would not be accounting for the actual damages of methane emissions. And of course, New York State is just full of frack gas. And this, of course, was tied to the fact that the governor has accepted profligate amounts of money from the fossil fuel industry. And so did one of her Senate sponsors of that process, which we stopped cold for now, also one of the biggest recipients of fossil fuel money in the country. So you take that, and what they tried to say, by the way, was that the reason why we needed to switch to 100-year accounting model is because if we kept the 20-year accounting model, New York State would not be eligible to receive Inflation Reduction Act money, which is of course bullshit, and we proved that right away. This ought to say, though, now with the Inflation Reduction Act, everyone's in anticipation of Joe Biden about to announce some strict standards for coal-fired power plants and power plants. However, what that plan is also going to stipulate is that those plants have to use carbon capture and sequestration to lower their emissions. That's a problem, right? Because also in New York State, we're starting to see lawmakers clamor with the fossil fuel industry to also bring this unproven technology to the state. And we know just 3 days ago, we learned that the biggest carbon capture plant in the world, located in Australia, actually released more emissions than it captured. And even if that was the case, we still have the issue of the pipeline network that's associated with these CCS plants as well. So we're talking about a new era of eminent domain, to CARLA Ray's previous point, a new era of economic and energy sacrifice zones, and also a new era of risk. Yazoo County, Mississippi, a majority Black community, there was a carbon dioxide pipeline explosion, and it made many people sick. And this is just another continuation of environmental racism. Where are those power plants? Do they tend to be located? Black, brown, indigenous, and poor white communities. So we will be putting them at risk because of this so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is also going to start to impact states. So there are a few things. Oh, last thing I'll say is that, of course, last Friday, there was a big hoopla for a new executive order for environmental justice for all that President Biden signed to a lot of pomp and circumstance in the Rose Garden. And I just want to say I have mad respect for many of the EJ leaders whose shoulders I stand on, greats like Peggy Shepard and Dr. Bob Bullard and Dr. Beverly Wright and so many more. And I like to say I'm Sierra Leonean in West Africa. We like to say we love people enough to disagree with them, and we disagree with each other a lot. So we must really love each other in Sierra Leone. Come over to dinner sometime, and you'll see how much we love each other in our disagreements. I was not very effusive because number one. You have to understand that executive orders are not a substitute for actual laws, right? They have the same power to some extent as laws, but it's not the same thing, right? We don't have an executive order for civil rights. We don't have an executive order for marriage equality. We will not have an executive order when we restore reproductive justice rights for women. We're not going to be able to protect trans people as fully as we need to with an executive order. We need laws or an executive order for voting rights. We need laws for that. So that's number one. This executive order will not protect any of the communities from Willow, from Alaska LNG, from LNG in the Gulf, from 600 million acres of Gulf of Mexico opened up under the Inflation Reduction Act, will not protect indigenous communities from extractive mining of critical minerals. And the big reason why is just like Executive Order 12898, its predecessor signed into law by President Bill Clinton, it does not allow for judicial review if those things in the executive order are not followed. So in other words, amazing people like MADONNA with the Lakota Law Center doesn't necessarily have a mechanism to sue because it doesn't allow for judicial review. So that's why I called it a very, very perfunctory exercise. And it's really a regurgitation of existing laws like the Civil Rights Act. Of course, the executive order does not stipulate the fact that the Civil Rights Act was weakened in 2012 by our good friend, no longer with us, rest in peace, I guess, Antonin Scalia, in a landmark law, a case, Alexander v. Sandoval, which essentially removed the private right of action for disparate impacts. So in other words, the burden of proof is so hard now to use the Civil Rights Act. You really have to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt racism and purposeful racism to be able to utilize it, right? So the executive order doesn't talk about that. The executive order does talk about the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, which already exists. So this law does say that if there is a hazardous release, communities must know about it. It includes something called the Toxic Release Inventory. So this executive order just sort of regurgitated what already exists, but didn't go as far as we need to protect communities in like Cancer Alley, communities like Flint, Michigan, the Dene people in Arizona, who I would argue have a worse water situation than even our siblings in Flint when you consider what's happening with the Colorado River right now, and it won't protect communities across the country. So what we need to do, tomorrow we are expecting President Biden to announce his reelection bid. We do need to let him know that his base is not happy. Young people, Black women who basically saved democracy twice, right? Let's be clear about that. When they voted for Biden in November, and when they came out in droves to vote for Raphael Warnock in January, Black women, young people, indigenous people, brown people, poor people have not gotten a return on investment for everything that they risked during COVID, during rising white supremacy and nationalism and police violence. So we have to collectively come together and end this sort of siloed approach to movement building. You know, right now we know that these LNG facilities are being approved for one major reason, a war in Eastern Europe, right, to fuel that war. So we need to work with anti-militarism people. And then we also have to work with racial justice people. We still have 16-year-old boys, babies being shot in the head twice for ringing the wrong doorbell. Right. So we have to work with the racial justice communities and as DAVANTE said, see the intersections, the axiomatic nexus between racial justice, gender justice, reproductive justice, LGBTQIA justice, anti-war, and all of that. And let the Biden administration know that, like, if you want that same groundswell of support that propelled you to the presidency, you're going to have to deliver for us, because right now, as I said, that cabinet right now, you know, sending Deb Haaland to announce the Willow Project, sending Michael Brune to announce, excuse me, not Michael Brune, wow, Michael Regan of the EPA. Michael Brune is the former executive director of Sierra Club, totally different person. to announce bad policies that are not going to protect Black communities, and sending Jennifer Granholm to essentially endorse the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which is going to have very deleterious effects in Appalachia and our poor white siblings. We've got to let them know that this is not the way that you're going to get yourself reelected, and that we need action on climate right now. We are sick of IPCC report after IPCC report after IPCC report getting worse, and that's that. So I will stop there and get off my soapbox. I actually am going to call my Lyft because as I got back into DC, I got to take a train back up to New York this afternoon. Totally looking forward to answering all your questions.
Anthony, thank you very much. And I welcome your pushing back on what I said. I heard you on the Congressional Progressive Caucus Center call about a month ago. I'm hearing you again now, and I'm on a steep learning curve, ready to take a course from you on environmental climate justice and switching from incremental to transformational change. It's an uphill battle, and I think we agree that we need to elect the right people to get the job done. I'm going to stop there and take a question from Antar Keith, the chair of our reparations task force. Antar?
Hi, thank you guys. And thank you also for speaking. I really just was like really energized by what you're saying. I just have a quick question. There's currently a really big movement, a sub-movement within, Black politic, the Black body politic within America for reparative justice. It's picking up steam, it's picking up support, and it actually has subsidiary movements within environmental justice. Is there a way to really kind of leverage the strength of this kind of burgeoning movement in the Black body politic to really support and bolster environmental justice writ large? You mentioned, finding people who are like true supporters of this. And, there's lots of, I feel people with big D Democrat next to their name, they talk a big game and then they get in there, that big oil money looks quite nice and the re-election is coming up and then they sell out, and I'm not gonna, name names, but is there a way to really kind of rally the cause of reparative justice for environmental justice? Are they quite different or are they one and the same? Please let us know.
It's a beautiful question. I really appreciate that. So I myself like to use transformative justice rather than reparative or restorative justice, because we don't want to restore the situation that led to the harm. We want to figure out the root causes of that harm, right? And like, for instance, the root causes of the climate crisis are white supremacy, patriarchy, and colonization. We have to transform that, and then we can get to a state of repair. I do absolutely believe in the concept of climate reparations. And there are a lot of ways that we have to talk about that, and as Black people, as we are talking about our own liberation, it's very, very salient and imperative that we understand that our liberation and Indigenous people's liberation are 100% tied together. Like there is no daylight, whatsoever. If Indigenous people don't get liberation, Black people will not have liberation, and vice versa. So when we are talking about climate reparations, we have to confer with our Indigenous siblings of what does that mean in the context of land back, so that it doesn't become just a hashtag and it doesn't get like you were saying, elite captured, and then just become a term that doesn't have like any real meaning or accountability behind it. Someone asked a question earlier about what it really means to name the occupied Indigenous land you're on. I'm on occupied Piscataway territory. But what does that mean? If I'm just like naming it, and not really feeling that, does it become something that's obligatory? Does it become something that's perfunctory, or is it a clarion call for what we need to do? And of course, that is a question that we must ask in Indigenous people, which was done on this call, and I really, or this panel, I really appreciated that. But no, absolutely. I mean, if we don't talk about, reparative aspects, and we don't talk about like aspects of land back, then what's going to continue happening is what I believe happened on Friday in Biden's White House is the elite capture of environmental justice writ large. It becomes a phrase, it becomes a hashtag, it becomes a part of the lexicon. And then what's not really understood is that no, environmental justice, the idea of indigenous liberation, those are not aspirational things. They are requisite if we are ever going to get to a junction of climate justice, right? Too many people think, oh, that's just like, what are you talking about? That's just over our head. Well, if you're not ready to have those conversations, if you're not really ready to understand what it feels like when an indigenous person sees Mount Rushmore and what that looks like, or Black people, in DC or in Brooklyn or in Harlem, seeing that their neighborhoods are no longer majority Black, and how that feels to see your land deracinated from you, your communities deracinated from under you. Yeah, we're not ready to have, the full conversation. We tiptoe around it, I believe, too much, which is why we always find ourselves back at square one. So instead of getting more transformational policies like the Green New Deal, we settle for the Inflation Reduction Act. And I use settle on purpose because settle has a lot of meaning, settler colonialism, et cetera, et cetera. So I really don't think that, like, again, in closing that, we can have a true climate justice discussion without this idea of climate reparations, without this idea of land back. And certainly, as Carla Ray alluded to, now that we're talking about critical minerals, and let it be known that it's a delicious irony that everything that we need apparently to save the world is located on sovereign indigenous territory, whether it be Turtle Island or back in Africa or in South America, right, indigenous territory. And so there's not going to be a renewable energy revolution without free, prior, and informed consent, or we're just going to be replacing a fossil fuel empire with a renewable energy empire. And we can't do that because that's just a vicious circle.
Anthony, thanks so much. I feel as though we're getting educated here a little bit, and that's a good thing. It's also a kind of an emotional education, and we're getting fired up. I'm going to push now a little too, but it's not pushing back, it's pushing the envelope, and assert that it is necessary to use the resources of the Inflation Reduction Act to defend, and also to do what we can with those resources, but then move to recognizing that we have something like a national climate emergency. And we have to realize that and decide what we're going to do in trifecta states where we might be able to get some good things done, and with executive orders, even though they're temporary, and then move on there, looking to 2024, speak as a discontented base, and look to 2024 as our next big opportunity as soon as we finish everything we can do now. And with that national climate emergency in mind, I want to turn it over to the leader of our DA Environment and Climate Crisis Council, where there is a push for getting that declaration made. Let's turn it over to Dana Freeling. Dana, take it away.
Good evening or good morning, wherever you are. I am Dana Freeling, and I'm the chair of the Democrats Abroad Environment and Climate Crisis Council, calling in from Finland, and I am a Texas voter. And I'd really like to thank ProDA for putting on such an amazing event. What inspiring speakers. I have learned so much, and I want to stay in contact with each of you. This has been amazing. Environmental justice is really the cornerstone to addressing our climate emergency, giving voice to, elevating, and compensating communities of color, the poor and the marginalized, from the harms that hazardous waste, resource extraction, and other land uses. It's inextricably entwined with remediating our climate emergency. Recognizing and protecting diversity and the vulnerable on all fronts, it is essential to the integrity of our self-governance. Each perspective informs us, informs the whole of our ability to see reality and to empower the entire population and our precious planet. As a great Brian Stevenson said, the opposite of poverty is justice. So to solve our climate crisis, we are definitely going to need to solve our democracy crisis. And that's where it comes to you all. And on that note, I would like to laud the progress that the Biden-Harris administration has made in forwarding the cause of climate mitigation and justice. There has been historical legislation, though it is imperfect. But as I think we all can see today, they have not gone far enough. And that's why I'm asking you to join us by signing our petition to declare a climate emergency. This will help unlock federal funds for a variety of actionable measures. Time has just about run out. So please do join us today. I'll be dropping the link in the chat in a minute or so. And if you'd like some more resources about living sustainably and learning more about the crisis, I'm also going to drop into the chat a link to our Earth Care Toolkit. And finally, for those of you who weren't able to join this last weekend to our DSP meeting, and you haven't seen it on social media, our council put together a video with, by the way, some of the filmmaker and some of the people who were in this Youth v. Gov trailer that we saw. We held a panel for them, lots of clips from different events that we've had, kind of spelling out the problem of environmental justice and this existential crisis that we are facing today. So I will also drop that link in the chat. Thank you all very much, and join our council. We need your voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana, for the excellent work that you and everyone is doing with the DAECCC. We at ProDA are so excited to continue our work with you. Just want to put in one compliment before we get to Sue, that ECCC Climate Cafe last week, focusing on the transition to e-mobility, was really excellent. Great discussion. We can't wait for the next Climate Cafe and all the amazing events you're putting on. With that, over to you, Sue.
Thank you so much to our dear siblings and our extended family who have come to speak with us today and remind us of the reality that we're facing. And let's be really clear, everyone, that that for centuries, small groups of people, just like Anthony mentioned, folks with power, people with wealth, have exploited this our precious world that we live in, our earth that can provide all the things that we and all life need to survive and to thrive, has been exploited by this small group of people. And we've had many Black and brown, indigenous, low-income people around the world sacrificed for what? For a small group to amass wealth, to engage in incredibly selfish indulgences. And now we're finding that the sacrifice is not going to be limited to some of us. It's all going to be sacrificed. And again, there's been nothing gained through that. It's been for something empty and selfish. And we need to find a way to connect with each other and connect with creation and say, enough is enough. We're not gonna put up with it anymore. So we've heard some actions we can take today. Thank you, Dana, and the Environment and Climate Crisis Council for sharing your Earth Care Toolkit, the links to the petition. I'm going to share something that I think would be important to do, and it relates to what Anthony ROGERS-WRIGHT was saying about letting President Biden know that we are not happy. I think we can write to President Biden, to all of our representatives, all of our government representatives, and tell them how we feel about what's happening, how we feel about where we're headed. And tell them that we demand that every decision they make, every conversation they have, every bill they pass has to have a climate lens. It has to have an environmental justice lens, whether they're on city council, a town selectman, or in the Senate or the President of the United States. That has to come first. That has to be there, or else what will be left for any of us? It's very important to get on the mailing list of your local environmental organization. I imagine lots of people on this call already are, but if you're not, find it out. Use Google search, ask your local librarian, what's the local environmental organization, either where you're living or in the communities at home in the states where you have connections or where you vote, and get on their mailing list. And when they ask us to take action, we're going to do it. We're going to march. We're going to write letters. We're going to sign petitions. We're going to do letters to the editor. We have to. These are all things we can do. And I think for each of us, again, if we can find an initiative that we can get more deeply into, that can be transformative. So whether you join the DA's Environment and Climate Crisis Council, whether you join the Progressive Caucus, or any number of the many effective organizations that are out there doing this work, do that. I'll put a link in the chat if you're looking for places to get involved. So we know the reality. We've got to get radical.
Thank you, Sue. We've got to get real, got to get radical. It sounds radical. That's exactly what we need. Back over to you, Daniel.
All right, well, thank you, Bruce, and thank you everybody for being here and paying our solid and important attention to all of our very dynamic speakers today. Please take the action that you can. Remember to join the Progressive Caucus and attend our upcoming meetings. The first one is our Progress for Progressives monthly members meeting. That's going to be happening on Saturday, May 6th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll focus on plans for the Democrats Abroad annual general meeting in June, such as the elections for the International Executive Committee, what our ProDA DC meeting will look like, and resolutions to be voted on by the Democratic Party Committee Abroad, or DPCA. If you'd like to see any particular resolutions voted on by the DPCA, please send us your ideas via email to ProDA, that's PRODA @democratsabroad.org, as soon as possible. Make sure to add your voice to our discussion by attending this meeting. You can RSVP for the monthly members meeting at the link in the chat. That link is now going into the chat, and there it is. The additional May monthly Mondays for our Progressive Minds will be happening. That is the same meeting that happens today, that is happening today and will happen next month, will happen on May 29th at, again, 12 p.m. Eastern Time in the US. That is our monthly Mondays for Progressive Minds event, where we will focus on our progressive agenda for the June 10th and 11th Democrats Abroad annual general meeting in Washington, D.C. At that event, we will discuss resolutions, those very resolutions that some of you may be sending us information about at the previously mentioned ProDA @democratsabroad.org email address. We'll discuss resolutions and bylaws changes that will be before the Democratic Party Committee Abroad, as well as the International Executive Committee candidates, and more. So please look for an event announcement in your email soon. And then finally, our last meeting that we want to encourage you to attend is one that I am doubly excited to announce and share the RSVP link for, and that is the Power of Us. This is the Reparations Task Force event that will be focusing an interfaith panel on how the demand for reparations for slavery in the United States is a call for justice. And I think, as we heard before, that's transformative justice, for which there is not only legal and moral precedent, but also scriptural and spiritual precedent. No matter our faith, we will learn that if, as a nation, we are told to boldly exemplify contrition for our dehumanizing past mistakes, we must take an unfiltered and wide-eyed look at our entire history. By taking responsibility for eliminating our blind spots once and for all, we will walk towards the promised land which Martin Luther King Jr. helped us imagine. Fill your May 6th with progressive politics by attending this event, now visible in the chat, a few short hours after that ProDA monthly members meeting. Having organized the speakers for this myself, I can tell you that we can expect a dynamic and powerful presentation. And so I hope to see you there. We all hope to see you there at the both monthly members meeting and Reparations Task Force Interfaith panel on May 6th. Finally, as you heard at the beginning, I will ask you to please help us be the margin of greater victories in 2023 and 2024. You saw some of those victories in the flesh in the form of our first speaker, DAVANTE Lewis. And so if you can donate, you'll help us build our ProDA community and provide thousands of DA volunteers with tools and resources they need to reach Americans overseas, and helping ensure their votes are counted. So please donate at the link that you will see in the chat. And I thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time and your attention. Thank you to our speakers and our event team, especially Karen, Cliff, and Rebecca, who do the event posting and our promotional emails. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.
Here's a post-event thank you to everyone who worked so hard to put this event together. I think it was a good one. I'm looking forward to working together with all of you in the near future as we go one day at a time. Would anybody else like to offer any closing comments before we end our day together? If so, unmute yourself and we're ready to listen.
Are we still live on Facebook? It says that in my top left corner, but I don't know if that's true.
Yes, we are still live on Facebook.